The views and opinions expressed at Enhanced Down Under are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official views of the company. Any content provided by our hosts are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.
Welcome to Enhanced Down Under. This is the official podcast channel of Enhance NT. My name is Anna and I am a qualified education agent counselor.
And my name is Jairus and I work with Enhance NT.
Alright, so before we dive into our episode for today, let's have a recap of our previous episode. So, episode 15 is highly relevant to international students as it highlighted the common experiences and struggles of international students here in Australia who are still awaiting the decision of their visa. In that previous episode, we were joined by two international students, Shane and Eva, who are both in hospitality industry, studying at ICAE, one of Enhanced NT's partner school. Shane is a 21-year-old student hailed from Sri Lanka, and he shared his inspiration behind choosing culinary or hospitality as his program. And he came in Australia under a 408 visa, transitioning to student visa. His application is still ongoing, and of course, although he is feeling nervous because of the high refusal rates, Shane remains hopeful for the outcome and he remains focused on his goal, which is to become a qualified chef upon finishing his studies. We were also joined by Eva, who is an international student from Indonesia, and Eva graciously shared the recent decision that she received about her visa application, which was unfortunately refused by the Home Affairs. And in spite of the negative outcome of her application, Eva remains hopeful and focused, and she will be lodging her appeal to the AAT, to the tribunal, and she aims to continue her study and eventually and ultimately finish her course in ICAE. All right?
All right, and with Anna's recap, I will be introducing our guest today. Today we have a special guest joining us. If you've seen our previous episodes or previous videos, she was a keynote speaker in our Chamber of Commerce event. She's a certified Pearson Test of English coach and the driving force behind her own successful PT school in Darwin. She was recently recognized for her commitment to Pearson's. Amila is not only an expert at helping students achieve their desired PTE scores, but also a holder of skilled visa, bringing a wealth of experience and insight into the business community and international education sector. We're thrilled to have her today to share her journey, expertise, and valuable tips for aspiring students. Welcome, Amelia Gunawardana.
Thank you.
Amila.
It's been a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for coming here, being our guest. So, okay, Amila, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, I myself come from Sri Lanka originally, and I was mainly in the travel background. That was my expertise. But eventually, because my pathway was to come here, I had event management experience as well. So I decided to apply for skilled migration and migrate to Australia. So I am also a skilled migration. I have been through this process as well, going through the PT, through the visa applications, biting my nails and waiting for the visa to come, and the stress that you go through it.
Yes.
So yes, I've been through all
So
of
you
that.
can fully relate.
Oh, for sure.
Amila, can you tell us about your journey as a PTE coach and what inspired you to start your own PT school here in Darwin?
Okay, so like I said, I also wanted to go down this path and come over here. So when I started exploring the options, I decided to do the PT. I initially wanted to do IELTS because it seems to be the more popular one, but I decided I did IELTS, but then I realized it was a little not in my liking. So I decided to do PTE. So when I went down that path, I realized this PTE has a lot of advantages in it. And then I went to Pearson's Test of English, the board, and I became certified and qualified as a Pearson's Test of English, and decided to start School of PT to help other people to follow in this journey, because I know there are many people from around the world who want to come to this beautiful country of Australia. So
I agree with that.
yeah, so that's why I decided to become a PT teacher.
So what sets your coaching apart from others?
Okay, so one of the main things I believe in is in personal coaching and not doing mass teaching.
Right.
So I only do one-to-one
like
teaching.
mass review.
Yes, I don't do mass classes, I do one-to-one teaching. And it's always personalized, so that gives them the opportunity to ask questions, clarify things, and then I can spend that extra time with them explaining things to them in detail. Also, because I teach online, I am globally accessible at any time of the day. I teach students all over the world because I do only online teaching. So that's what makes us different. You can access me at any time from any part of the world, as well as have your personal coaching done for you. So it's not you're not sitting in a class of 10, 20 people. You're sitting with just me or just maybe another one student or two students, and then you can get
So
all
it's more
in.
personalized.
It's definitely more personalized.
Yeah. So, speaking on that note, can you give us an overview of the PT exam and its significance for international students and skilled migrants?
Yeah, so I think PTE has many advantages in it. There are the 4 sections that they always check you on, which is the reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Yeah.
So it's pretty similar with IELTS.
Yes,
There's
it's
also
absolute-
4 sections or 4 types of exams.
Correct. So it's globally accepted, just like IELTS.
Right.
But some of the advantages with this is that it's completely computer based, and artificial intelligence is the one that gives you the scoring. So there's no human intervention whatsoever. So because the computer is asking you specific questions, and the more you do it and the more you practice, you know what type of questions they're asking you. So you really need to know how to answer those questions.
I actually like that better.
Yeah, because you know exactly what's coming next, and then you can answer accordingly. And the other advantage with that is because there's no human intervention whatsoever in it, when you go for, because I know sometimes in IELTS when you go for the speaking part of it, the speaking component you have to go physically for the test.
Yes.
Yeah, whereas sometimes you can feel a little uncomfortable when you go, and then you might think, okay, I'm not dressed properly, or that, you know, that kind of personal, you think that they might be judging
Actually,
you.
it felt like a job interview.
Yes, yes. So that's the thing. Whereas in PT, you don't have any of that. You just go to the PT center, you sit at the computer, and you just answer the questions that it's asking you. So, and also another important thing with PT is that the results come within 48 hours.
That's pretty quick.
Yes, 95% of the results come within 48 hours, and maximum within 5 days they guarantee your results. So you don't have to wait for 2-3 weeks in advance to book it, and then wait for another 2 weeks for your results to come. So that's really a good advantage with PT, I think.
What would you think would be the key components of the PT exam? Like how should students approach each section, and normally what mistakes do students make?
Okay, so this exam is a cross-functional exam. So even though they say they are checking you on speaking, they could be checking you on reading and speaking. So for example, in speaking component, if you have to read a passage aloud, which is your first exercise, you need to read it first and then speak it. So which means they're checking your reading and your speaking
At the same time?
So it's
Yes,
done
at the
simultaneously.
Correct. So which means you can't really be good at one particular area. You need to be good in all particular areas, because the scoring affects one component, not just one component, but all components. So it's important that students spend a lot of time preparing in each section, not just in one section. Just because you're good at speaking, it doesn't necessarily mean that you be good at that. You need to be good in all 4 sections. Yeah, and I think one of the common mistakes that students make, I mean most students or even migrants for that matter with PT, is that they don't prepare enough. They don't spend a lot of time preparing. I think you need to spend at least 2 to 3 months really putting in some good effort and good time to prepare for it, instead of just booking your exam within 2 weeks and saying, okay, I need to quickly do this, and then trying to practice it. So I think students really need to spend some time practicing it. And also I know sometimes students tend to work with templates, and I think templates personally for me, I don't think is recommended, because if you're stuck in a certain structure of a particular template, when you get a question that might be different from what you're
From
used
the
to,
usual.
from what you're used to, you might not be able to think beyond that. So in my teaching, personally, I don't use templates. I use certain structures, but I always get students to think for themselves and help them in the method of how they should think and how they should attack the question. So I personally feel that templates are not the best way to go about it. So I think some students tend to get stuck in those areas.
Yeah.
So when you do a one-on-one review, how long usually it lasts? Like,
So it's
for
like
an
this.
hour?
Yeah, so it depends. If I'm very flexible, that's another advantage with learning with me. My classes are usually an hour, hour and a half. If you want to do 2 hours, you can do 2 hours, but depending on your time schedule. My times are also not set. You can work personally with me because I know students go to school and there are
they
people
have also work.
Yes, and people have work, so and they have children, they have families. So you can work with me on flexible timings.
Yeah.
So you say, okay, Monday can we start class, and then I do Monday maybe an hour. If they're tired and say they have to go for a meeting, or they need to do something else, we say, okay, we'll stop in an hour. Let's do on Tuesday, and then we both check our schedules. And whatever is convenient to both of us, we schedule it accordingly.
So that's how you tailor your coaching method, depending on the need of the student.
Exactly.
That's perfect. So what are the specific challenges do international students in Darwin face when preparing for their PTE tests?
I think one of the things, especially here in Australia, if you're sitting over here and trying to do the exam, it's the accents, getting used to the accents.
Yeah.
That's one key thing that students need to be alert about, because the accents can vary, because even though it's English, it can be American English, it could be British English, it could be an Indian person speaking in English. So each person's accent is different. So you need to practice listening and different podcasts, news items, different things on YouTube, watching movies with different accents. That helps train your mind for different accents.
I guess if you think about it, like Australian English, the Australian accent,
Yes.
they don't enunciate as much.
Yep.
So if you're listening through like the speakers and everything, you might not capture everything compared to like the usual American accent you might hear.
Yes. So pronunciation sometimes can be hard.
Yeah.
And listening to it to be able to repeat after what they, because there's a section called repeat sentence. So you need to listen carefully and then repeat it. So sometimes it's hard, and then we are not used to listening as people. We tend to always give our opinions and speak more. So when it comes to listening, it can be sometimes challenging.
Yeah.
You really need to concentrate and practice listening.
I'm just curious, when I took up the IELTS test, it took me the whole day. How about for PTE?
Oh, it's very easy. It's only a 2-hour exam. There's no break in between. You just go. It could be 1 hour 55 minutes or 2 hours 5 minutes. It varies between that time. So it's only that 2 hours. You just sit and you do the exam and you come off. Sometimes on your way back home, within the evening, you do it in the morning. By evening, your results have come.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that's really good with PTE.
Okay.
So Pearsons have really made it easy for us.
Yeah, because with me, I like PTE better than IELTS. I've done both.
Yes.
And I feel like with the PTE one, it doesn't feel as random sometimes.
Yes.
With the way they present the questions, present the exams, the tests.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'll get questions with IELTS where like, oh, this kind of seems right, but the other question also seems kind of right too.
Yeah, and I think the PT content is a little lighter. Even with the writing, it has only 2 sections. I think with IELTS,
I think
it has
it's short writing and long writing, right?
IELTS has more writing in it. So I think I personally prefer PT because it has only 2 sections to do the essay writing and to do summarized text, whereas IELTS I think has more letter writing and I think doing comprehensions and things like that. I can't comment too much on IELTS because it was a long time ago that I did IELTS, but PT definitely I feel is much easier to do.
I heard about that too, and I know people who personally took IELTS and PTE, and they were actually telling me before that take a PTE, it's more practical.
Yeah.
But at that time I have already booked a different test, so I just proceeded with it.
Yeah.
But it looks very promising. Actually.
Yes, it does.
PTE.
It is.
All right. So for the skilled workers, Jarvis?
Oh yeah. For our skilled workers, how do they achieve a high PTE score? that impacts this. Does it impact the visa application for the process of
Yes,
skilled workers?
it
and
most
everything?
certainly does. With PTE, if you get, you need to, on your skilled migration visa, if you get 79 and above in all 4 bands, you get 20 points onto your visa application. So that is a really big 20 points, which makes you push over the bar for
And
other
sorry,
people.
what's the score again?
79 and above.
79, and that's already considered like a superior English, or?
Yes, it's when you compare
each
to
band.
IELTS, it's 8 and above.
Oh wow.
So if you want to get 7, it's 65 and above in all 4 sections, which means for the skill program, if you get 65 and above, you get 10 points
Yeah.
on your application. Whereas it's always better to aim to get 79 in the first go itself, because that will really add on the 20 points onto your migration.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the point system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really helps the point system.
It helps. Right.
And then can you, with the past, with your experience with the PT and everything, do you have like any success stories with your past students
Oh yeah, many.
passing their tests and all that?
Of
that
course.
helped them in Darwin with
Yeah,
with
so
visas and
I've
everything?
taught many students from across the world, from Singapore, Middle East, Sri Lanka, of course, my own country, and Australia. While I was there, I used to teach students here. Middle East, when I say Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all of those places.
that's a
I've
lot.
had,
That is a
yeah,
lot.
and even in England, I've taught a student from England. And one of the key things is I'm so proud to say that 95% of my students have got all of the scores that they require. I just had one student who couldn't make the bar in the first go, but all of them have. I'm proud to say that they've all got the required
They
score.
achieved their
Score that
desired.
I think one of the
score
advantages
test.
being able to do it individually with a few people in the
Yeah.
class, or just personalizing, because you can ask more questions. That's what makes it so. I can definitely say that I'm proud to say that all of them have passed and got their required score. So I've got all, but ones who want to get 90 and above also have. I've got students who've got 90 plus. Yes, I do.
That's a very high
you can
score.
yes, you can visit my website and have a look. So yes, there are students who have got 90. I myself got 80, 86 or something. Yeah, so which is good. But yeah, that's what it is.
That's amazing.
Yes,
That is
so
amazing.
they've been really good, and I'm really proud of them.
Yeah.
They've really worked hard for it.
So yeah, that's the thing. English proficiency test is required whether you want to become a student here in Australia or a skilled migrant.
Correct.
I think for students, they have increased the score now. With IELTS, it's 6 for those who are taking VET, and the 6 equivalent is
50.
50
Yep.
to PTE. So PTE, whether it's PTE or IELTS, you are required to have a certain proficiency level of English. So hiring a PTE coach, if you want to achieve a certain level, is definitely is at your advantage.
So I think especially with nursing too. I think with nursing they have
very
really high
yeah,
English standards.
like
Yes.
70,
Yes.
70 I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, you have
So it
to
varies
have
from
a
course to
minimum of
course.
70.
And each university also, sometimes it varies from university and
varies.
course and course.
Yeah.
If you do mechanical stuff, then it's the requirement for English is much lower.
Much lower.
Mechanics, those kind of people. But
For the
if-
VET courses also, like
Yep.
vocational education training courses. But if you are aiming to go to a higher education, like college or university, then
Yeah.
the score
Oh, yeah.
should be higher.
In PTE, like with IELTS, there's academic and there's general.
Yes.
Is there a difference with PTE or is
no,
just
there
one?
isn't. It's just
there's
one.
none.
It's
Okay.
just one.
So it's more straightforward.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I
So
feel like
that's
that's an advantage for most people too.
Correct. It's just that if you're doing exams to study to go to UK, then you need to pick the UK-based exam,
All right.
PTE.
Okay.
But there's no difference in terms of the exam. There might be slight changes in how they process it and how they submit the results, but there's no difference in the exam itself.
Okay, so for the entrepreneurs, what is the impact of English proficiency on entrepreneurial success? What do you think?
I think it's really important even for entrepreneurs, because when they start out, they need to read regulations and legislations and things
Oh,
like
yes.
that, and form filling. So when you're starting out a business, you need to know all the laws and the red tape and things like that. So having your English background is really important to be able to
To
identify
understand also.
identify what the loopholes are, how do you do things correctly in the correct process, to understand what the legal requirement is. I think English is really important. And on the flip side, also as an entrepreneur, recruiting staff when you're recruiting staff, you should be able to recruit people who can speak the language proficiently and not just speak it but be able to read it and send an email out and reply to people,
Yeah.
to your customers.
Be able to communicate
To your customers.
proficiently and
Yes.
effectively.
Yeah, so it's really important, I think, for entrepreneurs as well. So, and they could even always ask in their interview process for your people that you're taking in, they could always ask, have you done any English exam? Can you show me the results? That will give them an idea of how good they are in their English or how weak they are. So
Yeah.
that would really help.
So
I
it really
think.
matters whether you are a student or
Absolutely.
an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur. You have to have that certain English proficiency.
Yes, correct.
All right. Yeah, because if you're coming if you're planning to migrate to an English-speaking country, then you must, learn the language.
They would expect that you would have
Yes.
like a competency
Yeah,
of
the whole country will not be able to adjust for you.
Yes, correct, correct. So it's not just about your qualifications or your experience,
It's not just
and
your skill.
it's not just about your skill, but English is a common, globally accepted language
Yeah,
that we all that connects each of us together. So if you can't speak it, then it's going to be difficult. Speak it or read or listen or understand for instructions, then it can be a little difficult and challenging.
Well, I can attest to that because there are some people that I know, even employers,
Yeah.
they are aiming to sponsor some of their workers, highly skilled
Yes.
people from other countries, but they aren't able to because the challenge lies on the English proficiency of that person. And sometimes, even though communicable English is accepted,
Yep.
something that you can just improve
Yes.
while they're already here, but sometimes those who does not really speak the language, even though they are highly skilled, they cannot come here.
Yeah.
So it's, well, in the Philippines it's an advantage because English is considered a second language.
Yes.
I remember when we were in our partner school ICAE last week for a podcast shoot also, their marketing manager mentioned that it's very challenging now that the Home Affairs has increased the English proficiency requirement, and for some nationalities it's very challenging.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so have you worked with any entrepreneurs who have used their PTE success to boost their business?
Not really. There have been people that I have met who have done, but I have not really worked with them. But
alright.
yes, at the recruitment stages, they ask, how well do you speak the language? Can you confirm to us? So they've used PTE as a benchmark for them in their interview process. So I haven't fully worked with entrepreneurs, but I know entrepreneurs who have used it in terms of their interview process to make sure that their staff that they're recruiting can understand, read, and speak proper English.
Yeah, I think from the employer's side also, when you call someone for an interview, a prospective employee, you'd be pleased if that person is able to communicate well in English and express
Yes.
him or herself more in
Yes.
English, because that would help the company.
For
right?
sure, because you might be giving out, sometimes what you think might be you're saying, it might be misunderstood in a different way. So you need to be specific in the way you speak. There are terminologies relevant to industries that you need to use. So that all of that comes into play when it comes to things like
I
this.
feel like in highly technical jobs too,
Yes.
if I had two people, one that has a good grasp of English versus the other one who has a slightly less grasp, even he might be the better employee. If I had to give out like highly detailed instructions and that person might not be able to like execute as much as I want them to,
Yeah.
I'd still go with the person who understands everything that I say easier.
Yes.
So like
Communication is a lot easier.
communication is it's like
Yeah.
a massive thing.
It is.
So what do you suggest, like other than hiring a PTE coach? Like, for example, I just want to improve my English.
One of the key things I must say is sometimes when you go to a different country and you live overseas from what is you're used to, your culture, and you tend to move around with people from your same cultures. So for example, if you're Filipino, you tend to move with the Filipinos itself, and then what happens is you speak only your own language. You don't speak English.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If I meet a Sri Lankan, I will speak in Sinhalese.
Yeah.
Right? So when that happens, sometimes you don't have space to improve. Even at home, if you will talk to your partner in your native language, which sometimes doesn't really help for you to improve your English. So I think one of the key things, especially when you move to another country or you're trying to move to another country, is use all the opportunities you can get to speak in English, or read anything, or watch movies in English, even subtitles in English. You know, you can watch your native movie or your favorite TV program, but make sure you've got subtitles on it in English.
In English.
Then it helps you to read. You know, so those are ways of
Reading.
those are ways of improving your English, not just for the PTE, but to improve your vocabulary, to be able to understand certain things, terminologies, expressions. So I think it's really important that you use the language as much as you can, instead of being in your silo and trying to talk in your native language.
Yeah.
And when you meet your friends also from your home country, it's nice always, it's very warm and you feel very warm to talk to your own people in your own language.
Yes.
But it's important that you try to use English and move around with people who speak more English.
So it helps if you are also a social butterfly.
Yes,
I
for sure.
remember Andrew Coloma.
Yeah,
he
for
is
sure.
he became our guest in podcast episode 5, and he mentioned something like that. He is a social butterfly, and that it helps him improve his communication skill.
Yeah, and accents again. When you move with different people, the accents and the way they speak, and then the more you speak to them, their cultures, their backgrounds,
It kinda-
all of that you learn on the go.
Rubs on into
Yeah.
them. I guess in that aspect, what would be the resources and support that you offer for students too for the PTE?
Personally, when I coach my students, I explain the lesson to them, and I give them certain materials for the lesson plan. Once we go through the lesson plan and I explain everything to them, we do an exercise as well. So that is just the standard stuff that I do, but I always give them advice of what movies to watch if they're trying to improve their English, if they're struggling. Things that are easy to understand, because sometimes even in a movie, you can get sci-fi, you can get crime, you can get comedy, like different things, but their language and the storyline is different. So I would suggest like books to read. I would tell people to read, watch the news. That's another way of learning the language, because again, it's the Australian news, their terminology, the way they speak, the accents.
Yes.
You know, all
you
of
have to
that.
get used to the accent. That's a
Yes.
very challenging part.
So I think it's really important that so my personal, my material, my standard material I give, but I also give them the advice to watch certain things.
Like, can you suggest a movie for a beginner? What particular movies or?
I think personally, one of the good movies to follow is Friends.
Oh,
Friends.
Yes, the comedy
Okay.
series, because that has a storyline from episode to episode, and with subtitles, it's easy to understand. It's true to life.
Yeah.
We can it's all relatable to us. So it's one of those things that I think that Friends is definitely a starting point for people.
That's actually that's a very different way of teaching things, and I think it's helpful too.
Yes.
Because like a lot of the kids these days, they learn speaking English like through TV shows, through comics, through whatever, and all that stuff, and then that's how they rub off with their accents, with their vocabulary, with their language.
Yeah.
I've seen kids where they've watched Bluey, like kids from different countries, and they would watch Bluey.
Yes.
And some of the words they would speak, they would have an Australian accent, even if they're from the
Yes.
US.
Yes.
Which is kind
I
of
must
funny.
agree.
Yeah. Even Neighbours was a very old series, but I think now it's back. I think I saw it on TV here. But it was when we were smaller, those kind of series really helped. Neighbours, that's what I would go with.
I have to agree with that. Even YouTube clips.
Yes.
Yeah, my son, he said that he learned his English more while watching YouTube.
Yes, yes. And also some of the times we are so used to reading things on our phone. We read with our eyes and we are speaking in our mind. We don't talk it out loud. So sometimes we skip words. We don't verbalize it. So it's important that you watch things and you speak it out loud. Use the language all the time.
That's part of the practice.
Yeah. Or it all comes down to practice.
Yeah.
Yay.
I guess you would say practice is a major factor in becoming a better PTE.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because there are certain techniques you need to use when you're handling the question. Those techniques I will teach you, and what the computer is looking for, what are the ways of you need to answer this, what are the words, there are some specific words that they might look for. So those tips I will give you. But the language itself, the English language itself, you need to be able to speak it and read it. So it all comes down to it all comes down to practice.
I remember because I had this client. She was a nurse back in the Philippines, and she took her exam, her PTE exam, and she did not, at the first sitting, she did not attain the desired or the required test
Yep.
or test score because she said she wasn't able to enunciate the first few words.
Yes.
She did not realize that the test has already started.
Yes. So that's the thing. You need to really. So those things I'll teach you while we go, because how to manage your time. That's another key important area of managing your time during the exam, because it's only a
Yeah.
2-hour paper. So sometimes you spend a little more time on areas that you shouldn't be. I break it down into pieces and teach you, okay, this is 40 seconds, so you need to practice even when you're at home to speak this within 40 seconds and not to go over.
Beyond. So if you go over 40 seconds, that's no longer
The
counted?
no,
Or
the
that's a
microphone will
minus?
close.
Oh,
So there's no
alright.
time for it to record. So you
So
won't
you
get any
will be
point.
graded depending on what you have finished
Yes, correct.
on the specified time frame.
Correct.
That's how it is.
Yeah, so it's important to manage your time as well. That again comes with your practice. And I give you details of, in this question, you need to spend this much of time. And this question, there's this much of time. So you need to manage your time in a particular area.
Like, just curious, for the spoken or speaking,
Yes.
like how many minutes?
If I remember right, I think it's 40 minutes. Because speaking and writing is considered one section.
Yeah.
So you spend
Okay.
40 minutes in
40
that.
minutes for that.
Part one. But speaking also, there are 5 different areas like read aloud, repeat sentence, describe image. So those you have to break that 40 minutes into particular areas. So in the repeat sentence, for example, each sentence is 15 seconds. So you need to know what it is and how
Yeah.
you to manage it.
You know, I tried that practice test.
Yeah.
I find it very challenging, the repeat sentence test. I was like, what was he saying?
Yeah, but there are certain techniques you
So
can
that's
use.
why, that's why hiring a PTE coach is important, because at that time, of course, I was just doing self-practice,
Yeah.
and I got so intimidated by it.
No. Even reading aloud, there's a way of reading. You don't just read it monotonously.
Yeah.
You need to give it a little bit of expression and
Yeah.
things like that when you read. So.
Like figure out if it's a question, you have to end it with a question mark, with an
Exactly.
exclamation point. You have to like increase
Yeah,
your
so
tone.
it's not, should it be monotonous?
Correct. Have to have
And the computer picks that up?
absolutely. It's all artificial intelligence based.
Oh,
so
wow.
with technology, things are just moving really fast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the worry of some people that I spoke with. Like maybe since it's AI, the computer will not be able to pick that if you are it's a question mark, or that's why some chose other types of
actually-
English tests, because the computer might not be able to recognize.
no, it's actually easier and it's very standard, right?
More
because
practical.
it's trained, it's programmed to pick certain things. So as long as you know what it's programmed to pick, then you just need to speak into it.
Yeah, because a friend of mine, he took up his PTE test in Sydney.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe that he said that it just took him a little over 2 hours to
Yeah.
finish all the tests. Like, how come when I did the other test, it
Yeah.
took me the whole day?
No, it's very
and I went
easy.
out the center feeling so tired.
Yeah.
No,
Like
it's
with
very easy,
IELTS,
just-
after the whole reading, writing, and
Yeah.
listening, I remember mine. I had to wait like 4 hours for the
Same,
speaking. 'Cause
same.
You have to speak with a real person.
Yes.
So I had to wait like 4 hours. I had to find somewhere
They're so
to go.
tired, and the anxiousness.
Yeah.
You're so anxious, wondering, did you do right? Did you do? You're
We
thinking about.
started the test 9 a.m. for the first 3.
Yeah.
And we finished at 12, and then I waited just like you,
Yeah.
4 hours
Still
for
tired.
the last part of the test.
And mine felt like an entrance exam to a uni.
Yes.
Because it was like in this massive convention hall in a
Yes.
hotel,
Yep.
and there were like 300 of us.
Yes.
And like, what am I doing? Why is it so many people? And then I did the PTE. I think like a couple of years back here in Darwin.
Yep.
It was just like 5 of us, 6 of us. It felt like much
Yes.
more comfortable.
Yes,
Like you
yes.
don't feel like, why is there so many people? What
Exactly.
what am I doing? I felt like I was taking another entrance exam to a uni.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good thing with PT. It's more concise. You just do it within 2 hours, and within 48 hours you
Yeah.
most likely get your results. I mean, maximum 5 days. So that's, unlike the IELTS where you have to wait for so long, for almost 2 to 3 weeks till your results come, and that's so
Practicality.
Yeah, it's
is
very
the-
practical.
Yeah, I remember my friend of mine. He said that after his PTE exam, he just went straight to the airport. He was able to catch his flight, and too bad that he asked his family to go ahead. He didn't expect that it would just only take him 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to international students and skilled workers who are just starting their PTE preparation journey?
I think one of the most important things is to prepare well in advance. Don't do the exam in a hurry. Don't try to book your exam in 2 weeks and say, okay, I can quickly do this in 2 weeks. Spend good time preparing and practicing, because it's really important, because most of the questions are repeat questions. So if you have gone through enough questions, you know when you go for the exam, okay, I heard that question before.
All right.
So put
it's
some good,
familiar already.
yes, it's familiar. So it's always good to put some good effort into it and prepare for it.
Preparation, because I know some people, they are very confident. I personally, that people that I know personally, that they are very confident with their English proficiency skill, that just like what you mentioned, they booked the test 2 weeks before,
Yeah.
and then they failed.
Yeah. So you
Although
need to
they're very good in English, but the familiarity with the exam.
Yes. So I think 2 to 3 months, I mean, you can, even to balance it off, like sometimes when you're working, it's hard to put that time. People always keep saying, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. But it's, I mean, we all have only 24 hours in the day. You just need to manage your time. Nobody gets any extra hours, right? So you just need to know how to manage it. When you're driving, there are enough apps that you can download. When you're driving, listen to it. Even if you're riding the bus, you can practice while you're on the bus. You don't have to, go sit home, spend 1 hour. You can just do it on the go even. As long
So are there, practice tests that they can download?
Yes, there are many
That they can
websites.
listen,
There are many websites that you can use. I always recommend what Pearson's recommends. You can though, but I know lots of people use different types of websites. They download it and they do it, but practice I think is the key.
For your students, like, what would be their benchmark for you to be like, oh yeah, you're ready, that's good enough that you can pass the test that you want?
I always recommend that before you go for your actual exam, that you do a Pearson's mock exam.
Oh, the mock exam. Oh, I did that too. Yeah.
Yes, because it's always better to do the Pearson's mock exam itself and not anybody else's mock exam, because the Pearson's one will give you the accurate where you really stand. Whereas you get free exams on the websites and all these YouTube videos and different places that you can do free exams or spend only like $20-30 and then do very basic exams. But I always recommend to do the Pearson's mock exam. When I work with a student, I can gauge usually where they stand, and I'll tell them practice a little more, or don't, I think you're ready to do the mock exam. But I'll give them that advice because I should be able to, I'm usually able to gauge them. But I always recommend that you do Pearson's mock exam, because that will give you a very accurate understanding of where you really stand with PTE.
So the mock exam can be purchased separately.
Correct.
Yeah.
On the Pearson's website itself.
Some people, they prefer like DIY or do it yourself.
This is a do it yourself.
But some, they would rather not hire a coach or purchase a mock exam, because we cannot blame them. Maybe financial issues. But if you are really aiming for to enter into a university, or there's an exam that you have to be prepared for, please you will save time and money if you are going to hire a professional to help you.
Absolutely, because in the bigger scheme of things, you spend so much money on your visa and your university fee.
Yes.
You're spending $30,000, $40,000 for your university course. So spending $160 or $180 on a Pearson's exam, or $35 on a mock test, or $70 on a mock test is nothing compared to the $35,000 you're spending.
Yes.
So
it's a good investment.
It's definitely a good investment.
Normally for the PTE, I guess now that we're talking locally for Darwin, how does your school engage with the local community here in Darwin? And are there like any initiatives or programs that you do for the international students and migrants?
Yes, so I try to network as much as I can, and I am a member with the Chamber of Commerce and the Darwin Innovation Center. So I was last week at one of their events on the hot seat, where we did an event for the international students, and they were allowed to ask any kind of questions they wanted, so which I shared. In addition to that, I have I'm planning to work with the communities in each of the Darwin. In Darwin, there are different communities like Filipino communities, the Indian communities, and do some free information sessions on advantages of how you can work with PTE for your office.
Yep. That's amazing. That is great. Because with Darwin, with so much different communities here, like there always help is always going to be needed. You know, with Filipinos, with Indian communities, Sri Lankan communities for sure.
Absolutely.
We're a mix of everything here.
Yes.
So, what has been the most rewarding part of your career as a PTE coach?
I am so happy to say that one of the most rewarding things is seeing that I make that difference in somebody's bigger plan, in their making their dreams come true. Because we all dream for a better life. We all work so hard for a better life. And we put so much of time and effort trying to make our lives better for ourselves, for our children, for our families. And for me, what is really rewarding is being able to make that small difference in the bigger picture.
I must agree. So what are your future plans for your PTE school and your role in the education migration community in Darwin?
I hope to continue to support the international community because especially Darwin and Northern Territory is, I think, the door into Australia. There's so many people coming in through Northern Territory because of the regional visas that we have. So my plan is to continue to grow this segment and support all the students as well as the skilled migrations. I know that there's a lot of people here looking for Pearson's Test of English to do the PTE exam. So I hope to grow that segment.
I must agree with that because we have clients who are, contacting us and they said that I'm just a few score or a few points away from the desired or from the required test score. So they're looking for PTE coach. And
the advantage is because I'm online, even if you're in Darwin or whether you're in Sydney or Melbourne or anything.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You can be from anywhere.
And you don't have to physically come to me. You can just sit in your own house and...
So it's online only. So you just have to have a good internet connection, a computer.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you don't have no transport cost for you, no time like that. You just do it at any time. I teach in the evenings as well, 8 o'clock in the evening, 9 o'clock in the evening, whatever is convenient to anybody. So an early morning if necessary.
Do you still have work-life balance?
Yes, of course.
Really?
It's really important. Of course, I'm a fun-loving person who's out there all the time. For sure.
Do you do coaching on weekends?
Sometimes, depending. If
You're
students
very flexible.
If students need it, for sure. That's the advantage because we both have to agree on a specific time and then work together. So that's the good part of working with me.
You were recently awarded, right? You were recognized because of your dedication with PTE. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, back in Sri Lanka because I'm a Pearson's partner and a certified Pearson's partner with them. I was recognized for my effort that I have put in and the students that I have done so far. So I just got an award in Sri Lanka for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So tell us more about your business. It's your opportunity to plug it in. Plug it. It's your promote your.
So
PTE.
if you are thinking of doing any PTE for your the skilled migration or your student migration, you can always talk to me at schoolofpte.com. Or you can send us an email at info@schoolofpte.com, or you can always WhatsApp or call me on 61-414-757-010.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, for the wrap up.
As the guest was wrap that up, we can be found, Enhance NT can be found in 590 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT. Our email would be skills@enhancent.com.au. Our phone number would be +61 08 7979 2352. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our social media platforms, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Spotify. Thank you for joining us on this video podcast.
Whether you are an international student aspiring to study abroad or a professional looking to work in Australia, it is essential to seek professional advice, stay informed, and embrace the opportunity that migration brings.
And here at Enhance Down Under, we will help you choose the right path for your career goals. Up until next time, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.